So about a month ago I did a couple of videos on what I called farmer strength, and this is just the practical applications of body efficiency training, how improving our body posture makes everything we do easier. This is another video on that topic. It's practical body efficiency, and I've actually got a situation where I've got a flat tire and I've got to change it. So since I made those videos in which I was miming, showing different movements and what they could possibly be, I've been waiting for opportunities when real things happen to me and I can actually film them and show you how I'm using my body efficiency in real practical applications. So here I've got a flat tire and I've got to do all the work to try and take this wheel off and change it. Now, just a spoiler, I don't manage to take the wheel off, it doesn't come off, but that doesn't matter because it's that the whole process of trying is where you're going to see the body efficiency training. So of course, first of all, I'm squatting down, so this is a nice, easy, relaxed position. I'm sort of sitting down relaxing, my whole body is relaxed, and I'm trying to the efficiency is in trying to use the minimum effort. And now here, so I lean down to put this thing under. Again, this is like a bit of yoga. I'm concentrating on feeling a nice alignment in my spine. I'm stretching out the hips at the back, and all I'm doing is finding a nice feeling in my body. I've got to make sure I've got some awareness of my body, that whatever I do, there's a nice feeling. I've got to be aware of it, and the work has got to be distributed evenly throughout my body. See there, you see me when I lift my head up, I'm just releasing the spine. I've noticed that I'm hunching a little bit too much forward, and I'm counteracting that by releasing the spine and stretching it up a bit. And now again, back to the squat position, but I've got to rotate my hands. And it's a new movement, so I haven't done this for a long, long time, and I've got to remember how to do this. And what I mean is I'm trying to find the most efficient way of doing this. I've got to use my whole body structure to circulate my hands around and create this winding movement. So I'm playing with it, I'm experimenting, I'm feeling my body as I'm doing it. Now this is tricky because you've got to concentrate on what you're doing. So there's two things you're concentrating on: what you're actually doing, i.e. trying to wind this thing up, but also I'm concentrating on the feeling in my body and trying to even it out. And this is important. This is a change in attitude, and that is the most important thing I want to share with you on this channel. If you could just realize that whenever you're using your body for anything, you are training, you're gaining fitness, you're gaining health, you're conditioning your body. All you've got to do is change your mindset. Whatever you do is an exercise. And that means you're training all the time. Everything you do, you're training. You don't have to wait to go to the gym. You're doing it all the time. But what you're training is body efficiency. Whatever you're doing, you're trying to find the easiest way of doing that. So then you might think, well, that's not training. Well, it is, because to find the easiest way, especially of this, doing something quite difficult, I have to work my whole body structure. I've got to work the joints. And you can see I'm rocking my weight forward and backwards. I'm levering my spine a little bit and using the forearms and the wrists to create a little leverage and use that to make this movement. I'm not working too hard. I'm not hunching over in the spine. And in fact, I'm leaning my elbows onto my knees and even using my knees a little bit to help the leverage. So it's very efficient, very easy, and this is what I'm working on. And then each time I'm winding, I'm not just repeating, I'm trying to do it better and better and better. What does that mean? Each time I'm doing it, I'm trying to make it easier, less and less work. Now again, if you get that mindset in your head, body efficiency is making life easier, you're going to do it. We got in our head the idea that exercise is hard work. We've got to do hard work in life to get fit. And that puts us off. Oh, don't want to do that. And then we can't be bothered. And all I'm doing here, and in this situation, I'll just be annoyed. Oh, I've got to change the tyre. And I'm doing it in annoyance, and I don't really care. And I'm just trying to do it as fast as I can. I'll have hunched over the spine. I'll have a stretch in my lumbar. My legs will be uncomfortable. Maybe one knee's on the floor, and I'm hurting myself doing it. We've got to change this attitude. Everything in your body can be a pleasure. It should be a pleasure. And this movement, this rhythm I'm doing now is a lovely pleasure. I'm creating a little exercise. And I'm just pulsing through this exercise and feeling a nice pleasure in my body. It feels nice. And when it doesn't, when I feel too much work, I either have a little break or try and make an adjustment to my body to improve it. So there's not too much work ever being done. And there is a bit of a science to this. That again is the purpose of this channel. I've got to explain to you the science behind this. Because it's one thing to just try and do this, but you need to know how you can do this. So the way you can improve the efficiency of your body is by controlling the joints. I'm working on the joints and the bone structure. It's not about the muscles. It's not about the muscles, the tension in the muscles. It's about the tension and the use of the joints. You see here, look how vertical the spine is. I'm trying to keep a really controlled vertical spine. Here I'm leaning my elbows on my knees, and now I'm unwinding the bolts. I've loosened them up earlier by kicking it, but I forgot to film that bit. And now I'm just unwinding it with my hands. But you see, what I'm working on is the bone structure. I've got to be aware of the structure, and the most important structure is the neutral stance. In other words, a neutral spine. And a squatting position is like a further collapsed neutral stance. And I'll leave the links below to the neutral stance, how to build it and what it's all about. But the most important part of the neutral stance is the neutral spine. I want to try and stay as close to a neutral spine as possible. Now here again, you see me stretch back. Now I'm trying to get the wheel off. So this is now really hard work because this wheel is jammed. I don't think it's come off for years, so I'm going to have to take this to the garage. But you can see I've got to pull, but I've got to be very careful. Here I'm going to do my back in, so I'm using my whole squat and I'm falling back with my body weight, pushing my knees in, pushing my feet into the ground. My knees go back, and I'm trying to leverage the whole body with the arms to pull back the tire. So I'm not using my spine. I've got to hold my shoulders up and back and the spine arched backwards, and keep that position as I try and pull the tire. As you can see, it did not budge at all. It just would not work. So again, this is another lesson to be learnt. I don't try too hard. If it can't be done, you feel it in the body. I can feel this is not happening. There's no way this is happening, and I'm not going to risk damaging my body. So I'll only ever go so far. I'm never going to go to full power. I've got to be very, very careful. So it's again awareness of the body. You can only feel it. I've got to feel I'm using the whole body. Here I'm having another go. I thought maybe there's something else to unscrew, but no, there's not. And again, I've realised, nope, this is not happening. I can feel how difficult this is, and I know I'm going to struggle too much. And when you struggle too much, what happens is your brain forgets about holding the correct posture. Oh, I'm having another go. And then you're going to hurt yourself. You see, careful, the spine starts to hunch forward, the shoulders go forward, and a little bit too far forward now, even for me here, I can feel it. And so I've got to pull the rib cage and the shoulders and the spine back before the hands go back and hold it. Otherwise, I risk stretching a single vertebra, pulling my back, or pulling one particular muscle. So what I'm trying to do here is hold a straight spine and leverage the whole body from the ground with my arms to pull the tire. So again, I am actually having a bit of a longer go. So I did have a couple of good tries. Now 1 foot forward, you can see I've got a greater leverage, but now again I've got to be careful because there's a twist in the spine. So I've got to be fully aware of the feeling in my body whatever I'm doing, and the neck as well. See, I'm still got to keep a backwards arch. The neck tends to bend forward, and then you can pull your neck as well doing this. You can pull a muscle anywhere. And now I'm sitting back and relaxing again, although a little bit too hunched forward, but what I'm doing here is looking and thinking. But essentially my back is not too bad, it's not overly stretched. But the important thing is to feel it. You'll feel it, and I'll straighten up a bit. So you'll feel what's going on in your body, and this is the training. You've got to train to feel what is happening inside your body, and you've got to teach yourself a better posture. You've got to teach yourself the neutral stance, the neutral spine. And once you look in the mirror, practice like that, see yourself, make sure it's even left and right. And once you've taught yourself this, you've got to remember the feeling. Remember the feeling of what a neutral spine feels like. And then whatever you're doing, you try and remember that feeling. So here again, my spine is much better, a bit more neutral, and I'm putting the bolts back in again because I realise I'm going to have to call the garage out or take this to the garage somehow. Well, I'm going to pump it up. I've got a little electric tire pressure inflator, so I'll just pump this up and then I'll drive it to the garage to get it looked at. But you can see now, even just doing this little thing like twisting things, most efficient, I use both hands. I was twisting them both in at the same time. And then again now here, so I'm winding them up with tension. I'm again trying to create a leverage through my arms, through the shoulders, through the rib cage, the spine, and sinking nicely into a natural squat. And the squat should be natural. This is actually a rest position. Our body is designed to sit in the squat Indefinitely. This is better than a chair, and for me squatting is better than a chair. I actually do everything squatting. I have my dinner squatting. I sit down if I'm sitting on the floor. I do my work squatting, or I lie on the floor. I don't sit on a chair. Or if I have a choice, I will squat down like this. So I live a bit like a wild man. It's very minimalist. But the reason is I've done this so long and I practice it so much, and I've always tried to improve it. I'm always working on efficiency, so now it's at the stage where this is genuinely a comfortable position for me. It's like the indigenous people, they didn't have chairs, they sat down like this. But they didn't mind, it was perfectly comfortable. And it's healthy because when you are collapsing your leg joints completely, you're actually stretching the ligaments in your legs and the spine. And if you've got a good mobility in the hips, you don't compromise the spine. I've still got a neutral spine, a backwards arch, because the mobility is in the hip joint itself. So I'm stretching the hip joint, and this is stretching the blood vessels, and I'm creating a different flow of blood in my body in a squatting position. This is also a release. Once you've done a lot of work with your legs, if you've done a lot of running, a lot of walking, squat down for a bit afterwards. It will release all the work you've done. Because when you do use your legs, you tend to be straightening them. Running and walking, you're straightening out your legs. So you've got to do the opposite to counterbalance, and that is squatting down. You collapse the legs completely. The legs are now in their most collapsed position, and you're stretching the ankles and stretching the hips. The work is not in the knee, and it's not in the lower back or the spine. And I'll leave links below to videos on squatting, how to squat, and what is the most efficient way of squatting, because this is such an important thing to do. If we could learn how to squat, it's very, very beneficial for your health. It's so good, and it is meant to be comfortable. But the whole idea of body efficiency training is to have this body awareness. Feel what is going on in your body. Train yourself to improve your body posture. It's so underrated. We don't even think about our body posture. But even when you do exercises at the gym, don't increase the weight, don't work harder. Try and improve your form. Improve your structure when you do whatever exercise it is you're doing. Try and notice the difference with holding a neutral spine to the way you were doing it before. The rib cage got to be lifted up, the shoulders lifted up and back a little bit. You see, gravity pulls you down and forward. You've got to lift up and pull back, and you've got to hold the belly in a bit. These are the key factors in the neutral stance. Okay, I hope this made sense. Please do check out any of these videos here and the links below to the videos I was talking about, and I look forward to seeing you next time.